everyone tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, even. For the people that do not know me, my name is Leon. I'm a community mother at Band for the past 3 years now. What do I do? I generally oversee community guidelines on our various engagement platforms. Can it be X, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, even, you name it. I have a very direct line with our marketing team and our tech team. And obviously, I try to keep everything in check with the other moderators over at Band. On that note, I have the pleasure of hosting today's AMA. Joining us is Banky. He's the founder of XION, and XION is generally a first modular generalized abstraction layer. It's purposely built for consumer adoption by enabling seamless user experience for everyday users. And on that note, I noticed that you're actually backed by some really familiar industry names. I saw Figment Capital, Spartan Group, Circle, Alliance. I know that Figment even invested in Bandseed like 4 or 5 years ago. So you got
Oh
some
yeah, nice.
solid names
Yeah,
going
some
there.
great, some great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And yeah, mostly recently Sign integrated our Oracle solution on their testnet, essentially enabling cross-chain compatibility and customizable data feeds. We are also obviously contributing to Science effort to make Web3 accessible for the mainstream users. Yeah, welcome, Banksy. Happy to have you here. Would you mind introducing yourself briefly for everyone
absolutely,
tuning in?
absolutely. My name's Bernd Banksy. I am the core contributor, solo founder, core contributor and founder of Burnt when we were building Zion. Um, and yeah, I mean, you kind of gave it a great introduction, but I guess I go by Burnt Banksy. The reason I go by that name is about 3 years ago, I bought a Banksy art piece. It's a pretty famous artist. Um, Sold it as an NFT, and for all of 2021, we were the highest average price sale on OpenSea. Hence, Burnt Banksy. um, Highest average price. We're still in the Wikipedia for the word NFT to this day. And I would say even till that day, we've been, still stuck on this goal of bringing crypto to retail. And so we're very excited to be working with the guys over here at Band, as they have allowed us to, especially with some of the interesting applications, such as you mentioned, like very cross-chain, VRF, data oracles. I think it's hard to pin down exactly which I'm most excited about, just because of how many cool applications, especially in our last hackathon, that we're able to do it. If anyone hasn't gotten a chance yet, about 4 weeks ago, we released our testnet. We garnered almost a million meta accounts and 10 million transactions, in addition to just wrapping up our first hackathon, which was extremely successful, over 300 projects. Yeah, and as you mentioned, judges like Multicoin, Animoca, Hashkey, Spartan, Figment. I love the guys over at Figment. Was it James who's your main point of contact? He's my favorite. Don't tell
Yeah,
Dougie.
yeah. Sweet, sweet. Cheers for the awesome introduction, or quite interesting. Mind elaborating a bit more in depth on my explanation of what sign is? What is the long-term goal
Yeah,
here? Personal opinion for me, I think sign actually fits perfect in the current primitives. After all, the overall industry, has to kind of demonstrate a meaningful way for Web3 behind the
yep.
gambling aspect, really. So I think you guys have good ground there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, as it kind of relates, it's kind of hard to say exactly like what we are, and it's easier probably to describe it with the vision. And so for us, we want to create a place where products can finally exist in the ecosystem, and I believe that crypto has not been conducive for a product. And I think there's more L1s than there are products, and there's more infrastructure than there are products. And I think for the reason of it hasn't been conducive to be a product, right? You've had immense friction onboarding. You've had to be the BD team of the localized wallet, and you've had to be the BD team of the localized kind of ecosystem token. And with that being said, like customer acquisition costs are way too high for a lifetime value of a customer that is evidently, effectively, we don't know the cost of it yet because the customer acquisition cost is so high. But with that being said, we just, I use the words like UX chain or consumer chain. or generalized abstraction layer, but these are just kind of the means to an end. And I would say that I believe our success kind of comes in people not knowing who we are, right? Very similarly to AWS, where I don't know where X is being hosted right now. Could be AWS, but the thing is that it doesn't matter, right? Because we're using this product and it's being backed by AWS, and I think that's the exact vision for XION in the future, where people are going to be able to use the products on the ecosystem and not have to buy the native token and have to worry about gas fees or worry about downloading a wallet. It's going to be completely replicative of a Web2 experience, which is what we're building for and what we're striving for. So we get there by utilizing our generalized abstraction layer. We get there by utilizing our parameterized fee layer. But at the end of the day, right, in high level, we just want, we want to compete with Web2, and we want to show the values of crypto without having to require people to know exactly, every single thing and click the wrong links and then get rugged, right?
Yeah, sweet. I couldn't agree more, actually. Everyone tuning in probably already knows a lot about wallets in general. People use ledgers or MetaMask. But if we want to have the masses on board, yeah, you need a seamless um, way to get into
Exactly,
crypto. Yeah, and I think let's
exactly.
move a bit deeper in on that thought. You said account extraction. Obviously, we have external accounts or smart contract accounts. And how's Zion's framework into account creation here? I think that's one of your core values.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think kind of to that point where we kind of start to differentiate on terms of like when we look at like actual protocol level. Um, we looked at 4337 and we looked at some of these other solutions out there. But the issue is that we needed a way to separate identity from authentication. And the once you get that, right, and then let me just tell you what I mean by that, right? Right now you have a wallet which proves both, hey, I'm the person who owns this wallet, and I'm signing this transaction to authenticate. If we can break that apart into two things, we don't need to follow these kind of same legacy poor decisions that we've been making in my mind. Like, let me give you an example. If anyone here is very familiar with Signal, we like to think about the way that the way a flow on Zion will work very similarly to that of Signal, where on Signal you log in and you validate the session, right? Whether that be signing on with a JSON Web Token, which is like email or passkey or phone number. You effectively then in that scenario, right? That is how you authenticate. Hey, this is me. I am this email. I own it. I have access to this, and then you say, okay, well, for the next until I close this application, I then have, then everything is encrypted from that point on. And whenever you send a message on Signal, you don't have to then sign a transaction every time, right? But it's encrypted, right? And and it's obviously not the exact same, but it's a very good comparison because following a very similar premise, that's exactly how the flow on our chain works, which for us is exactly mimicking Web 2. Um, and a lot of these kind of start with what we call, enshrining UX decisions on the protocol level. One example of that is rather than something like a 4337, which is a social or a smart contract consensus layer, right? It's right on the protocol level, right? And so right in the anti-handler, we effectively say, is this a smart contract account? Is this not? Or is this, does this go down the regular flow? But with that being said, what you kind of get with that is a Pandora's box of different opportunities, right? And to kind of take this a little more down that rabbit hole, you have legacy decisions like private public keys. And previously, since everything was an externally owned account or like a MetaMask that people are used to, um, sorry, like people are used to, you needed a place to store a private key, and this is where wallets came into example, right? Because you couldn't really just store a private key on a browser. That's really unsafe, and so you needed a certain extension to effectively allow a kind of safe place to store a private key. Now, when you wanted to start getting onto different devices, this gets really tricky, right? Because you really, if anyone's ever tried to use if anyone's tried to ever do anything mobily, right? you effectively can't, unless you have some sort of like Phantom wallet app or MetaMask wallet app or a very specific app. And you see a lot of fragmentation with that. What we can allow for, since there's no longer this public-private key pair relationship, we are completely device agnostic, and we have, complete signature agnosticity. Which, like, if anyone's used our testnet, we kind of have this trending hashtag going around called Zion Everywhere, which is, it's a bunch of people, taking photos of their testnet from interesting places. Like, for example, I was using my Xbox and I was using testnet. Kyle Samani was in a mountain, a house in the mountains on his Apple Vision Pro using the testnet, right? And so we've completely expanded the potential reach of applications as well, in addition to, of course, having a super seamless user experience.
Sweet. Yeah, I even saw someone that made a photo of his or her grandma making his Zion account and logging in. Really
We love
speaks.
that. That's what we
Yeah,
try to do it for.
really speaks for him how easy it is to onboard people that are generally not interested in crypto or know how it works. So good stuff there.
Yeah,
You
exactly. Should be focused on the
yeah,
products.
exactly. Um, you touched on it before already. You had a hackathon going recently. I'm just curious, how did that
We
go?
did
Any
just, yeah, yeah.
cool submissions you had this for?
We're still looking at all of them. There's a couple of really cool ones. I believe there was a team that was working on a portion of abstracted interoperability, which allows the use of. This is what I'm also very excited about, which allows, and there's like a Loom demo out, so it actually works, which is crazy. But it is a way to use injective applications through Zion. And it's the first time ever that's been able to happen with another chain, right? Like, composability to a pure level of we're able to interact through Zion and through everything that we've made to another chain, right? And once it's injected, it then goes, working with Landslide for AVAX and Toki for BNB, right? So this is, for me, it's very exciting because it's like the first proof of concept where we can have, you don't have to just bridge assets. You can genuinely go interchain or intra-chain, I guess. I don't know. So that was probably one of the ones that I'm most excited about. I have to do. There were so many great projects, and I wish, I wish I could have just ended yesterday, and we're still trying to go through them all. But in the little time that I had to kind of go through it, that was one of them that stuck out to me. Social media applications like Mosaic or Bonus Block who deployed on us. There's a lot of cool ones out there, loyalty programs and music platforms, and I think what we're really looking for is consumer applications, right? So we're just, and I guess for us, we try to find the most creative solutions possible, and I think that's what we say that in the hackathon, but it's what makes me the most excited, right?
Yeah, I can only imagine. Really cool to hear that with the interactive. When it's live, I'm definitely gonna try that out. That's actually insane.
I don't know. I need
Um,
to. No, I
yeah,
know. I need to. I need
yeah,
to. It's crazy.
yeah, super cool. I had a question regarding some things from your white paper when I was diving in. I actually noticed some very unique design choices. And I'd love to hear some of your reasoning on those. I saw something about permised fee layers, to pick one.
Yep,
Like
the parameter fee
maybe
layer.
might diving a bit in on that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I think I kind of touched on this a little bit, not too long ago. But when we talk about like the parameterized fee layer, that's something that's really interesting to me. As a matter of fact, like before we really made any hard decisions, this was like the main decision that we've made. Um, and effectively, again, it's hard to describe things in like this pure form of like, oh, the direct thing is X, Y, and Z, right? Um, but the perimeter fees layer comes about because we wanted to say, okay, a user should never, ever see a gas fee, no matter what chain they're on either, right? And so this, on a base level, says, hey, we can take a fee from any token, not necessarily just the Zion token. Um, it could be Solana, it could be Ethereum. You could pay with any token you want, right? It'll still settle to Zion and still combat inflation, um, you know. But we did a pretty big partnership back in November, I believe, with Circle, And I think, I think it was on the block, where we announced that, for us, Circle is going to be our, I would say our denomination of choice. And this allows us to do even more things, right? There's no real price volatility. When I was selling NFTs on Solana, it would be $5 one day and it'd be $10 the next day. And so that's hard to do when you're trying to sell, something like a ticket to have that underlying volatility. Something else that makes it interesting is like we could also very, very easily use credit cards to buy assets directly on chain. Since it's USDC, you can have a pool of USDC, kind of do this interesting auto swap feature as you don't really have much inventory risk as, USDC is obviously stable and pegged to the dollar. And as it also kind of relates, there's this other aspect of it which kind of siphons these two definitions or 2 to 3 definitions of gas fees. Um, the first is like think about like a service fee, which would take a then percentage of a transaction, very similar to an eBay or an Etsy or something like that, which a Web2 user is very experienced in kind of knowing that flow. The other one is for free transactions, right, which is like claiming a free aspect or like claiming a free asset or claiming, sending something to someone. In that kind of capacity, we have like then it's very simple of like just pure gas sponsoring. But a lot of that, and I think the main goal at the end of the day, right, to kind of bring parameterized fee layer together is we just don't want people to see gas fees. And that's kind of the short of it. And very similarly to the term generalized abstraction, there's a lot that kind of goes in there, but with the main goal at the end of the day of ensuring that people just don't have to see it.
Super amazing. I think that's also one really big like wall block. If I have an Ethereum token and I want to send it on the Ethereum chain, I actually need to hold Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
like the native chain of the token to be able to send it. Goes for all the other chains as well. So being able to handle gas fees in your preferred token choice, that's an actually really cool
Well, and I
design.
think that was like
Uh,
one of the reasons we also talked about we also talked about like the percentage fee, right?
mm,
So it's like if you're using credit card, you can kind of do this transaction and not have to even top up beforehand. You can do a brand new wallet and immediately just go and start using it. You don't even need to go buy any token, right?
yeah, super cool. Another topic I noted on the white paper is abstracted interoperability extensions.
Hmm.
Mind explaining
Yeah,
people
sure.
what that is? There were
So
too
that was
many that
kind
were
of like
so cool, but I picked out like the ones that came to mind for me.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is like what we were talking about a few minutes ago with injective, right? Where hey, I can now use Zion through injective, right? And that then once you then have this kind of collection of kind of chains that we can operate with, and in the white paper, I believe we cite Hyperlane and we also cite IBC for this of effectively how we can communicate across all these chains. But effectively, what you have in this scenario is you can then you're not just limited from Zion to injective or Zion to AVAX. You can now go AVAX to injective or AVAX to Solana or Solana to base. And for us, it's less about the actual chains, but it's more about the products that kind of exist upon it, right? So I think like my vision for it, and like I think I put this in the white paper of something that would be interesting, is let's say you use Fentech, you know, use it through Zion. You have a Fentech account there, and you're like, oh my god, I think this stepping thing on Solana is really cool. But you shouldn't really need to know what a base is, and you shouldn't really know what Solana is. You just want to use the application base. I'm sorry, you want to use the application Fentech, and then you want to use the application Steppen, right? And we want to make it as easy as going from Facebook to YouTube, and being able to use both of them. Because right now it would be a multi-day, multi-step process that would include bridges to just switch applications. And when we kind of talk about this rising tides raise all ships, this is kind of the overall approach that we take to some of this, which is, I think there's need for collaboration in this space, and I hope that with through abstracted interoperability, and we're very excited to have someone in the hackathon being able to kind of put that forward. Through abstracted interoperability, we want to create a collaborative L1, not necessarily a competitive L1, which I feel is pretty harmful for the industry because I would even say like when I'm talking to people, it's oh, how are you going to steal users from Solana? How are you going to steal users from Ethereum? And it's like I don't want to steal users, right? Like I want all of us to live in this this ecosystem that we all care for and love, right? And I think as people tend to specialize and as chains become, as chains lean more modular than monolith, we start seeing more and more opportunities for specialization and kind of promise in that aspect.
Yeah, I can agree more on the latter. When people ask me such questions, it isn't a zero sum game, shouldn't be one L2 or only
Exactly.
one.
Hmm.
It's perfectly fine to coexist, and I think it's only in the benefit for everyone in crypto to have coexistence collab there. On that note, I think that people are really interested to build on XION after hearing everything you just said. I'm just curious, how are the resources there? Your overall ecosystem actually quite insane already, from what I can tell. Just curious, are there any resources for new developers wanting to join your chain? Yeah.
Yeah, please definitely check out the documentation, docs.burnt.com. For anyone looking to get involved, we have an awesome ambassador program where um, we're really excited and we're starting a global initiative right now. And so definitely, we could use all the help we can get, developer or not. Obviously, I recommend checking out the white paper, following us on Twitter, following us on Discord, and we run office hours in the Discord, and I would say our engineers end up being your engineers at the end of the day. It's just kind of how this hackathon is kind of run through. Um, but yeah, so definitely check out the documentation, just docs.burnt.com. Yeah, it's exciting.
Cool, cool. With that being said, obviously, Ben is the core Oracle solution for XION. Are you keen to tell when tuning in how XION uses banned oracles and how the overall implementation went for both parties?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say it comes in the creativity of the projects building on us. Like it's less for us, but more about the multitude of projects in the hackathon that rely on you guys, right? I am a big fan of a VRF, and I think that there's a lot of really freaking cool applications as it kind of relates to that. And so for me, that's personally my most exciting. But whether it be live data feeds, live price feeds, trusted Oracle solutions, I think you guys are probably the most requested of hey, where can I get this? Where can I get this? And it's and this is something that we've seen in a hackathon, which you look at a hackathon, it ends up being a petri dish of kind of innovation and spurring in a very short amount of time, and you see where the attention is, and it's awesome because I'm glad we could be here because I mean band is so crucial to our process and everything that we do.
Cool. Yeah, sure thing, sure thing. Are there actually any milestones coming up or ventures that you're particularly excited about for XION? I think you're going to ET Denver. I can actually imagine you do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're lucky. This time, ETH Denver, for ETH Denver, it's pretty close to us.
Yeah,
We're in the States.
sweet.
Um, yeah, but yeah, ETH Denver, I would say I'm lighting myself on fire on March 6th. That'll be fun. Um, and yeah, starting to really begin to turn the mainnet gears on. So kind of nothing official yet, but we're definitely barreling down that track as fast as possible, and we're really excited about it.
Likewise. Another question I had in mind, is there a token on protocol level? If so, what are its functions? I couldn't really find anything about it.
Well, could you repeat that
Is
one more
there a
time?
token on like the protocol level? If so, what are its functions?
Yeah, that would be the Zion
Mm,
token, right? And it's effectively how everything's allowed to work, right? It's kind of this settlement aspect for the parameterized fee layer and how we're, even how we're allowed to um, get everything done. Everything then settles to Zion, which would then go and to pay back the validators effectively. Um, And of course, we also need it for the security of the network. We also need it for governance and staking and things like that. But I would say that like the real underlying use of the XION token is kind of reliant on the parameterized fee layer and being this kind of base asset for I wouldn't necessarily call it settlement per se, but to ensure that everything runs smoothly in a secure fashion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Cheers. Last question I had,
Beautiful.
on a
Yep.
strategic level, what's your strategy to stay ahead of competition? As I noted earlier, obviously it isn't a zero sum game by nature, but I'm just curious to for you from you on this matter.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of it kind of comes in the products that we want building on us. We actually don't really want DeFi products, which is like a guess for some people, but I think there's a lot of innovation out there for DeFi, and I think there's a lot of competition out there, people trying to fight for the best DEX, people trying to fight for the best perp markets, and that's just not a market that we're interested in. We're a very small, lean, nimble team and our focus is on consumer applications, and our focus is on bringing the promise of Web2 to grandmothers of the world, right? And grandmothers don't care about perpetual markets or automated market makers, right? There's other value to be found, and I believe that we're trying to find it. And I think trying to be collaborative with everyone, not necessarily turning away the traditional Web3 user, but still embracing them, but being able to onboard Web2 at the same time. I don't think we're ever trying to say no to anybody, right? Or we're trying to single anyone out. But we're trying to make a space that's collaborative and open for everyone at the end of the day.
Yeah, fair point, really. Fair point. Think we covered a broader overview here. Anything I missed on before we move on to some Q&A questions that you want to say?
No, not yet. Well, I think we got it. Let's hop on over to Q&A.
Picked out a couple ones. Had a user who asks, are there any notable partnerships or collaboration in pipeline for Zion?
Yeah,
Any
I mean, I
sneak peeks?
think any sneak peeks? We haven't technically announced our Stripe and Circle. I'm sorry, Stripe and Checkout.com. But that is one that I'm very excited about. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be having a pretty big one with Injective, kind of given the abstracted interoperability, and eventually leading to AVAX and Hyperlane and every other chain in the world. There's a lot that will be coming up on the media funnel too, of just how we operate in a guerrilla marketing style way. And yeah, it'll be exciting. I would say those are the most ones that I'm excited for. In addition to like the amazing projects that are deploying on our
Yeah,
chain.
so much at one time, step by step, you know. I have another user who asked, yeah,
Exactly.
could you provide insight into Zion's tokenomics?
Sure. Yeah, we kind of went over that a little
Yep,
bit of just the parameterized fee layer and securing the network, etc.
fair enough, fair enough. Last question before we can possibly, I think there are people tuning in that might have some questions. How does Science approach protocol upgrades and what measures are in place to ensure a smooth transition while maintaining backward compatibility for existing applications?
That's a very good question. I think there's a couple aspects to that. Like one of it is of course the protocol level, but then another one is the npm library of abstraction, right? Which is how we deal with some of the front end stuff and the package that we allow people to kind of upgrade into. I think that's a great question, right? And I think like we've definitely learned from the industry in the past of how that can be bad. Obviously, everything is governance based voting, and we require a majority of nodes to obviously maintain the new, the kind of the new upgrade path. Yeah, but I think that's a great question, and I think like the answer to that is like just kind of learning from history, right, and kind of just understanding.
Yeah, no,
I guess that's one of those things. I'm like getting like PTSD
no,
here
fair
of like
enough,
times
really,
where
fair enough.
everything's
It's
fucked
it's
up,
it's
and
yeah.
so it's like,
Ever emerging tech, you learn from the past that people make mistakes and then
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
fair.
Just don't make those
All
mistakes.
right, you're
Easy.
right. Easy mode. For everyone tuning in, if you have a question, feel free to ask to become a speaker, and then run those through. No questions is usually a good thing, you know? Means you explain everything perfectly.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks for joining, man, and have a wonderful rest of your day. It's obviously still early times there. So I hope you have a productive day and have a great weekend as well. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you for
so
joining.
much for joining our ME today.
Yeah,
And thanks
thanks for
everyone for
joining.
tuning
Excellent.
in.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.